Okay, it's time to do investments. We're finally on investments here. So in this video, we're going to start filling out the right hand side of this thing. I forgot to show the title slide, but here it is. First investment, we're going to choose a vehicle and we're going to set up an automation. But first, before we go into that, we're going to do the investment intro to get an idea of what it is that we're talking about. What is an investment? Why do we use it? And that type of thing. And also how to do them in general. The investment, well, it's the investment is the very top part of the financial foundation here. And I'm going to cheat again a little bit. I'm going to use this PowerPoint from this course that I'm putting together. So, it's going to make it easier for me to explain instead of having to write everything out. But it's also going to be, it's like a little cheat preview as well. So we're going to go into this investments. And the reason that you would want to make investments, right, is because you have things that you want to do. You might want to upgrade your car. You might want to buy a house, buy a fancy thingamabob. You might want to have a nice retirement, like save for retirement. Have kids, or fly an airplane. It's different from flying in an airplane. You might want to fly an airplane itself, right? And that might require some investment, both time and money resources to make that happen. Now, we know that the output of our financial machinery is going to allow us to put money into achieving these things. So it's easy to understand that conceptually. But where do we put the money, right? Like if we want to buy a house, where should we put the money? If we want to fly an airplane, where should we put the money? If we want to have a nice retirement, where should we put the money? There are going to be different places to put the money based on the type of investment, the time frame that you want to make, okay? And right, one place is going to be better than another place, depending on what the goal is. So to broach the topic, we need to talk about two things related to investments. And the first is the money vehicles. This is the place, I call it the IRS contract, IRS account type of contract into which you're going to put the investment. Like, for example, a bank account is a money vehicle. Okay, it's treated in a certain way by the IRS. An investment account, like a brokerage, is another type of money vehicle, right? They're treated differently, have different types of tax treatments. And the second thing we need to know is the money formula. Okay, how does money grow? So let's look at the money formula first. Okay, the money formula for money growth is going to be equal to the return over time minus taxes. It's pretty simple. It's really it. And this return over time is going to be evaluated as a whole thing. It's not like you find the return and then you find the time. No, you find return over time. Okay, and you're going to see what I mean when I go through my example of what I'm going to invest in. I'm going to do an example at the end. It's going to be my example. Minus the taxes. Okay. The only things certain in life are death and taxes, so you're going to have to account for taxes and your money growth. Taxes decrease your money growth, so we have to subtract it. Another thing you got to pay attention to, and really, really pay attention to, is that you're calculating real return, because the whole system that has been set up here kind of obscures what the real growth is. If you just look at like return over time minus taxes and you use that as your money growth, you're going to end up with a lot less valuable stuff at the end of the day, right? Like, by now, if you just have money sitting in your checking account or your savings account, tomorrow the amount of value that you have is a lot less because of something called inflation. You got to account for inflation. You don't got to, but you would be wise to account for inflation. So you want to look for things or normalize the returns to a real return. And they call it the real return because that's the actual return that you're getting. It's not the fake return, the nominal return, the arbitrarily increased price of something is not what you want to accomplish. if you have $10 today and in 30 years you still want $10, you're going to have to, that's a real return of 0 over 30 years, right? But if you have $10 physically today and then you have $10 physically in 30 years, you don't have $10 in 30 years. You have like a lot less. So look at a few examples, right? If you put your money into your mattress, just evaluate this formula. The real return, well, there's no taxes because, right, the IRS doesn't know. Well, they don't care that you put the money into your mattress. They actually want you to do that. That would be something nice for you to do for them. So there's no taxes you got to worry about there. The real return over time is going to be negative inflation per year. Every year you're going to lose that value of that cash to inflation. So if you want to put money in your mattress, this is the money growth formula that you're going to be working with. Now, let's say you want to instead put your money into gold, like not put money into gold, but you're going to exchange your money for gold. You're going to buy gold instead, right? This time, we're not going to have any real return because gold is gold and the value of gold is going to be kind of consistent over time, okay? And this is kind of confusing. It's a difficult concept it was a difficult concept for me to wrap my head around because I was basing my finances for a long time over dollars. Like, oh, gold is up $1,000 in the last year, or gold is down, or whatever. No, it's the other way around. The dollar goes up and down. Gold remains the same. The value of gold to humans is not really going to be that much changed over time. Okay, that's why it has been the global that's why it is the global reserve currency, and it's still going to be the global reserve currency for a very, very long time, I think. Okay, so there's no real return there, but let's say the value of the dollar goes down, the price of gold goes up in relation to the dollar, and you end up with double the amount of money, dollars, from the gold when you sell it. Now you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Way you have to, but I guess you have to. I don't know. It depends on what you believe, I guess. But you pay taxes on that gain. The highest marginal tax rate for gold is going to be 28%. So whatever you gain, you're going to pay 28% of the profit that you made. And I made a video about this, how the IRS and the Fed, they work together to steal your substance, a couple videos back on my channel, which kind of goes more depth into this and how much of a scam this is. But regardless, you got to be aware of how the system works, right? Because in order to win, to beat the system, or rather play within the system to have you benefit at the end, you got to be aware of how it works, okay? So nothing to get upset about or angry or anything. So now let's say we're going to put our money into a bank account, okay? We're going to put it into a bank account. Now the money growth formula that we're going to work with, let's say that we're going to get 1% interest on the money. That's I think that's high now for savings account. They become lower than 1% on average now. And then we have to subtract the 3% from inflation, and that happens every year, right? So we're going minus 2% per year, minus it's not exactly 28%, but minus the taxes that you're going to pay on the interest that you gain from the bank account, okay? Now, you gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention, because what's happening here is nuts. It's insane, okay? You are getting 1% on your money. The taxes that you pay are based off of this 1%. Okay? So if you have $100 and your interest is 1%, you get $1. And let's say you're 25% tax bracket. You pay 25 cents of taxes. That means you have $100.75 in your account now. But with inflation, after a year, you have something just above like $97. So you understand what's happening here? The bank account is not going to be the best place to put the money. Like, you're not getting taxed on the value change. Like, your money goes down from inflation, but even though you technically have more money in your account, you don't. It doesn't work that way. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's what it's going to be for a bank account. Next, we're going to talk about the money vehicles. Okay. The money vehicles are the places, rather the types of accounts that you're going to use to put your money into, right? You can put money in many different places. You can put money in your hand and hold it like that. Your hand is a money vehicle. You can put money into a piggy bank. A piggy bank is a money vehicle. You can put your money in prison. Your prison is a money vehicle. You can also exchange money for different things. Like, you can exchange it for fine art, collectibles, a car, a lamp, whatever, some food. Or you can exchange it for things like documents or stocks, bonds, securities, title deeds, other types of things, whatever, right? And those things in turn, then you can put those into like different types of money vehicles. And we're going to talk about which ones those are in a second. But the things that you want to kind of keep in mind when you're selecting a money vehicle is, how am I going to get it in there? Like, how will I physically move my money from here to there to be inside the money vehicle? How long is it going to be there? What duration? Is it going to be a few days, a year, 30 years, 50 years? Are you never going to take it out? And then how will you get it out if you do take it out, right? How are you going to get it out? Because different money vehicles are going to allow you or have different rules about how you got to take them out, right? For example, the what is this called? The piggy bank. How do you get it in there? You put it through the slot. How long will it be there until I want to buy something that I feel like, oh, I need to get it, right? How do I get it out? Unless your piggy bank has a little hole in the bottom, which then I would not call that a real piggy bank. That's a fake piggy bank. You have to get a hammer and hit it. That's how you get it out, right? Okay, so if you want to buy a house, for example, you want to ask yourself, and you want to choose the money vehicle, right? The money is going to go into the money vehicle, and the money vehicle is going to help you with your goal of buying a house. How will I get it there? How long will it be there? And how do I get it out? Well, you get it in just like that. Okay. So you're going to get it in there by a monthly auto transfer. Okay. And this is an example, right? You're going to get it in there from your checking account or your savings account. You're going to monthly auto transfer the money in there. How long is it going to be there? Well, I want to buy a house in 5 years or less, so it's going to be there for 5 years or less. Okay. How will I get it out? I'm going to withdraw it all at one time in order to make the down payment. So when you're looking for a money vehicle here, you're going to want to find something that is going to fit these criteria, something that you can auto transfer into easily, something that doesn't maybe lose the value of the money that much. So maybe like a safe investment or a savings account or something like that, and something that's going to allow you to take all the money out at once. So there's not like withdrawal limits or taxes on the withdrawal or that type of thing. Like, you're not going to use a retirement account to save for buying a house. Although there are retirement accounts that, 401ks have certain rules that will help house buyers if they want to, use the money in there. But, that's something that you can research on and decide for yourself whether that's something that you want to do. Okay, now let's say, what example is this? I need to fix the animations a little bit. Let's say that you want to put money into a money vehicle to have a nice retirement, all right? What kind of money vehicle do you want here? Well, we just ask ourselves the same questions. How will I get it there? Monthly auto transfer? Sure, why not? every month I'll transfer money into my retirement account. How long is it going to be there? Well, if I ever need it, I guess I'll take it out. My goal is to not ever need it, right? I'm just putting it there for, people say, oh, you should save for retirement. So I'm like, okay, I'll save for retirement. But it's not something that I'm planning on needing ever at some point. If I do need it, then I'll take it out. And if it's going to be needed, it's going to be like when I'm really old, maybe 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, something like that. And how will I get it out? Well, if I start using it for income or whatever, I'm going to take it out monthly, yearly withdrawals, that type of thing. So now when I'm looking for a money vehicle, I'm going to use these criteria to say, okay, I want to find something that's going to fit these criteria. Okay, and I'm being very vague with the criteria, right? You can be like a little more descriptive about it. Okay, so then there's all these different kinds of money vehicles, and we can sort of classify them based on the way that the IRS classifies them. Why not? And this is how people usually do it as well. There's the taxable accounts, there's tax deferred accounts, tax advantage accounts, and tax-free accounts. Taxable accounts are well, we'll just go through them, right? Taxable accounts are things like your checking account, your savings account, your CDs, brokerage accounts, palm of your hands, your piggy banks. These are all taxable accounts. You pay tax, you pay the income tax before you get the money. You pay taxes you put the money into the vehicle, you pay taxes as they grow, and then when you take it all out, you pay taxes on the growth. All right. You're paying taxes on the seed, the crop, and the harvest. No, the seed, the growth, and the harvest. Okay. So we're gonna do an example, kind of like a walkthrough flow chart of how a taxable account works. Okay. So you have a portion of your gross income here. This is the gross income before taxes that you are paid. All right. When you contribute into a taxable account, you contribute into something what is then known as the cost basis of your investment. Okay, but as you contribute, right, there's a tax filter here. So you've already paid, like if you're investing into a taxable account, putting money into a savings account, checking account, brokerage account, you've already paid the income tax on that. So you don't literally like pay the tax when you put the money in there, but rather I'm showing you that the total amount of money that you make, your gross income, you've already paid the tax on it. So when you contribute to a taxable account, you're contributing after tax dollars is what they call it. Okay, so you put the money in there, you got your cost basis in there, you paid your income tax as normal. It's already done, it's already said and done. So now what happens is that your cost basis is going to grow over time. But hold on, there's also a tax filter for any kind of growth that happens to your money. So if you get dividends, you got to pay income tax, capital gains tax. If you get capital gains, you got to pay taxes. If you get interest, you got to pay taxes on that. And that happens every year. So if you have a savings account, you might have gotten a 1099 int from your bank before, and you put that into your IRS computation software, you give that to your CPA. You've paid taxes on that money. Any interest that you got, you've paid taxes on that money. And then after a while, right, you have the growth that occurs. Your cost basis is still the same, okay, but you have the growth here that is, your cost, your initial investment has now grown. Okay, when you want to take out the money, you can withdraw the cost basis anytime you want, no problem. There's no taxes or anything on that. Okay. However, when you want to take out the growth, you got to go through the tax filter, and you're going to pay whatever taxes are necessary for that growth, right? So if you bought a stock, for example, and then it's grown a whole bunch, then you're going to pay the taxes on the growth. Whatever increase in value that stock has had over the year, okay? But you're not, right, it doesn't affect the cost basis. The cost basis is always yours. That's what you put in, That's what you can take out. And the rest is your keep. Okay? All right, so that's the taxable account, taxable vehicle. Now we're going to go into the tax deferred vehicles. That's taxed later. Okay, so these are your 401ks, 403bs, 457s, traditional IRAs, different kinds of IRAs. There's annuities, pension plans, health savings accounts. Okay, so tax deferred means that you're paying the tax later on them. So let's go through an example of how a tax deferred account is going to work. Okay, so the same money, we're getting the same money here. This is your gross income, the total amount that you've made from your work. Okay, you contribute, and that contribution is called a pre-tax contribution. And what happens is that the IRS pretends like you didn't even make this money yet. And if you've contributed to an IRA, a traditional IRA or a 401k, if you look at your pay stubs, you'll see that that money is not reported as income, because they're saying, okay, you're not being paid this yet. We're going to defer the payment on it. Therefore, you're also going to defer the taxes that you pay on it. All right. So you contribute here, your pre-tax contribution, and then time passes and you get dividends, capital gains, interest, all that kind of stuff, whatever. That's all good and fine. And you end up with some growth. Okay. Pre-tax contribution is there. You have the pre-tax growth. Okay. And keep in mind, none of this has been taxed yet. And so far, it all looks pretty good, right? Because it's been growing completely tax-free. Well, when you want to withdraw it, that's when you end up with the having to go through the tax filter. So you withdraw it, you got to pay the income tax on the whole thing, right? Doesn't matter, pre-tax contribution and growth. None of this has been taxed yet, so you got to pay taxes on the whole lot, and the rest is your keep, right? So if you notice that your contribution is also cut off because you pay taxes on that as well. You haven't paid taxes on it yet, so the IRS makes you pay. And you pay on the whole lot, on everything that is grown into, right? And this might trip people up, because when you look at your 401k statements or your IRA statements, you're going to see a number on the screen, but that's not how much you actually have. You got to cut that down by 25 or 30%. Because that's how much you're going to be able to withdraw, right? You have $1 million in your 401k, that might only be 700,000 if you withdraw it all. If you withdraw it all at once, it's going to be much less than 700, right? But you got to also account for that, because if you don't, then your calculations might be off. But you shouldn't be getting to that point where you're like your lifestyle or your abilities to survive is going to depend on a 30% less taxes. You shouldn't be getting to that point anyway. All right. Okay, so now let's look at the tax advantage accounts. All right, the tax advantage accounts are going to be your Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, 529 college savings account, muni bonds, cash value life insurance, long-term care benefits, disability insurance benefits. Tax advantage means that the taxes or the money that you put into these vehicles, you've already paid tax on that money, so you don't have to pay one more time. Okay. So let's look at how that works. It's the same amount of money as before, your gross income. It's similar to the taxable account here. The same thing is going to happen. When you contribute, you go through the tax filter and you pay income tax. Right? Again, you're not literally paying when you make the contribution. You've already paid the income tax. I'm just showing you conceptually how to think of this, okay? And to also differentiate it from the tax deferred account where this does not happen. You don't pay any tax when you contribute to a tax deferred account. But when you contribute to a tax advantage account, you do. You pay income tax as normal. So what you have inside the vehicle now is called a post-tax contribution, okay? And the post-tax contribution, same as before, time passes and it grows. You get dividends, capital gains, interest, and whatever. And you end up with something at the end, okay? And your post-tax growth is combine, I mean, it's with your post-tax contribution, and you can withdraw it. You can withdraw the whole thing. There's no tax penalties for withdrawing this, right? Because you already paid taxes on it in the beginning. You already paid taxes on it, on the seed. So everything that grows, it's like it's fair game. You can take it out. Now, you might be wondering, like, okay, what's the best one to do? Is it better to do tax advantaged, taxable, or tax deferred? And that's a good idea for a video. I'm going to make a video on that, specifically on that topic. Okay, it's a good question. A lot of people will look at this and think, oh, yeah, tax advantage makes way better. I think this is the best one. Sounds like it. It sounds like it. But there are two things. There's two big things. One which you have a lot of control over, and another which you have very, very, very little control. Well, you have some control over it, actually. But you don't really, I mean, the average person, I don't think, has very much control over that. Yeah, I'll do an example of which one is better, because most people look at this and think, ooh, this is the best one. I'm going to do tax advantage always. Okay. So then if we come back here, there's also the tax-free accounts. These are things like your health savings account and illegitimate businesses like drugs or illegal stuff. Right? There's not really that many tax-free types of money vehicles. The IRS does not allow that kind of stuff. They always want their money. Now, the health savings account, you notice that it's also here, right? The asterisk here is there for a reason, obviously. The health savings account is a pretty cool account. You should learn up and read about it. The health savings account allows you to put in money in a tax-deferred way. So when you put the money into the account, you don't pay taxes on the money that you put in, right? You deduct them from your taxes. And then if you use that money to pay for a medical expense, then you can withdraw the money from that account tax-free. You don't pay taxes on that amount. Now, let's say you get a health savings account, you just keep putting money in there, and then you never have any medical expenses ever, then it works just like a traditional IRA. You withdraw the money, I mean, it becomes a tax-deferred account, basically. So it's a pretty cool account. It's pretty powerful. If you expect that you're going to have a lot of health problems and you're going to go to the doctor a lot or whatever, it's nice to be prepared anyway. Then you can definitely use a health savings account. If you're going to open a traditional IRA, you should open a health savings account anyway, if you can. Might as well. All right. Okay. So now's the example, but I think I'm going to save the example for the next video because this video is already very long. We're almost at 30 minutes here. So I'm going to show the example in the next video. But this has been an introduction to the investments part. And it's the very last portion of the financial foundation. So we're almost done here, guys. As soon as we So nice. Okay. See ya.